gone. I'm gone. Nope. Hey, well, we're talking about Candace Owens being ousted at the Daily Wire, and we're also talking about p-diddy. P-diddy. Oh, my God. P-diddy and some TD fakes. Jakes. Oh, my God. The gay rumors, all of this stuff. P-diddy's house been raided. His two sons basically been held at gunpoint. The feds came and raided a Homeland Security, whoever. Man, we got some interesting things to talk about tonight. Well, I should say this evening on the Lawyer Henderson podcast show. Welcome back. Candace Owen saying that she cannot be silent after Daily Wire fires her on the controversial statements over the Israeli and the Hamas war. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Lawyer Henderson. I'm your host. And welcome to the Lawyers podcast show. Also, we're going to be talking about p-diddy and the raid on his home. His two sons held at gunpoint. Welcome, everybody, to the Lawyer Henderson podcast show. I'm your gracious host, Lawyer Henderson. Thank you for joining me tonight here on the Lawyer Henderson podcast show. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what it's all about. It's all about what podcasts, what broadcasts, what video essays that you watch on YouTube and other places, television, what media outlet that you believe could tell you or give you the best information. And for almost 5.5 years, the Lawyer Henderson podcast will give you the facts by any means necessary. The Lawyer Henderson podcast show is very much important in today's society because the oppression of Black folks, basically these people are trying to continue our oppression. And of course, they're using us, people that look like us, to help in this. They're bringing these illegal immigrants over here to supplant us. And as Amos Wilson liked to say, pile on top of Black folk. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lawyer Henderson podcast show. The Cash App is $ Lawyer Henderson 40 if you want to give a donation here. ScrewTube will not allow me in the algorithm, and there's a reason for that. Because they like to promote these white supremacists on ScrewTube. They want these white supremacists to be on ScrewTube to turn them into celebrities so that white supremacy can continue to believe that they are going to be in control for futures to come. And we have to be very clear and very mindful as to what these people are doing. The Lawyer Henderson podcast show basically do not have funding from the media. You want to talk about that $25 million that Biden administration had given to the Black media to try to get Black folks to go out and vote for him again for 4 more years of nothing? No, we didn't receive none of that money. You probably go ask Roly-Poly Martin, did he get some of the money that Jim Crow Joe Biden gave to the Black media? I don't get that type of money there for the Black media because I can't be bought out by these people. And that's what you have to do. You have to sell your soul to the white supremacists in order to get his money. Speaking of that, that brings me to Candace Owens, one of the number one bed wenches in our society right now. But Candace Owens basically is getting the Negro wake-up call. Candace Owens says she cannot be silenced after Daily Wire exit. This is according to Newsweek. And let's just read some of the things that's going on here and why, as one great man like to say, is that when white supremacy is done with its tools, it breaks its tools. Professor Truth. But it said Candace Owens has declared that she cannot be silent following the announcement that she has been fired from her role at the Daily Wire. Daily Wire and Candace Owens has ended their relationship, Daily Wire said Twitter on Friday morning. Owens reposted a statement on her own X account shortly after it was shared. While Boring did not elaborate on the move, it has been widely documented in the months since the Israel-Hamas war began that Owens was a loggerheads with the Daily Wire editor Emirates Ben Shapiro over their opposing points of view on the conflict. And this is the problem that you have when you work for white supremacy. As a black person, you're going to always get the boot when you are useless and when you're over there to basically give, even if your views is such into which is outrageous, but the white supremacist is still going to say, well, no, that's not what I want to take it as. Okay, I want to take it this way. Oh, if you don't agree with that, oh, you're fired. This is what these white folks showed Negroes like Candace Owens. Okay? Now, should Candace get her black card back? Of course not. Okay? Well, let's go ahead and move on to this article here. A source close to Owens exclusively shared with Newsweek that the conservative commentator is set to speak out on the matter as she prepares to continue her work on the platform of her own. Candace will be speaking soon, the source told Newsweek. Anyone who knows Candace has the voice that cannot be silent. On Friday, Owens took to her X account to share her own website link as she confirmed the news that she has parted ways with the Daily Wire. The rumors are true. I am finally free, she wrote before directing her followers to her website and posting another link for those wishing to share donation via Red platform. There will be many announcements in this weeks to come. Okay. Sharing another link in her follow-up X post, Owens wrote, "This is my personal YouTube page that I will be bringing the show back to after the brief hiatus. Please take a moment to subscribe to this new channel. Love to all." Now, when these bootlicking Negroes go on, when they get fired from the white press, and she's not the only one that got fired, of course, by the white press. But when these Negroes get fired from the white press, you got to recognize that the monies that they get from these white supremacists is draining out. And when the white supremacists say, hey, look here, you're fired, go ahead and go. These black folks who try to basically deny themselves as being black would try to go and do the same thing. The problem is that they don't have the funding behind it. So just like in any post where these bootlicking Negroes try to start, they get these white supremacists who will come on their show and basically say some things for them. But the donations are not the same. And you're going to see Candace Owens, of course, in some point, like a lot of these black bed wenches who basically is married to these white men as she get older, you're going to see that she's going to be dumped and broke. So I hope she's doing a lot of savings. It goes on to write here from the Newsweek that Newsweek had contacted representatives of Owens and the Daily Wire via email for comment. Owens had faced criticism from a number of her fellow conservatives after speaking out against Israel amid its war with Hamas. Israel launched its latest war on Gaza after Hamas' October 7 surprise infiltration attack, in which some 1,200 people were killed and 253 taken back into the script as hostages. Around 100 remain unaccounted for, along with the bodies of 32 captives believed to have already died. Okay? Now, the thing about this is that Ben Shapiro, basically, along with these other Jewish people, specifically the white European, have issues when you say anything about the Jewish community. Okay? They basically don't like it when you basically have an alternative opinion about what Israel is doing. Okay, yes, Hamas attacked them. They started it first. The problem, though, is that Israel is going overboard, killing hundreds and thousands of people. Let's look at this article. The subsequent assault on Gaza has killed at least 31,819 Palestinians, per data from the Strip's health ministry cited by the Associated Press. Another 435 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli security forces and settlers in the West Bank since October the 7th, per Associated Press figures. Swaths of Gaza have been razed, and the vast majority of its 2.3 million residents forced to flee their homes. Scant humanitarian aid has been delivered into the Strip despite growing international pressure on Israel to facilitate more, with the United Nations and the NGOs warning that famine is imminent. Roughly a week into the Israel-Hamas conflict, Owens fought with conservative journalist Megyn Kelly on X, wrangling over whether college students protesting for Palestinians should be blacklisted. In November 6th episode of Candace Owen's podcast titled, Am I Anti-Semitic?, Owen sat down with the Jewish comedian Amy Kozak to discuss the conflict, and again drew criticism for asserting during the conversation that there are Muslim quarters that dictates where Muslim citizens are allowed to live in. That's allowed to live in. I grew up in my grandparents' house. My grandfather grew up in the segregated South. And so I was walking through Jerusalem, and they see, these are Muslim quarters. This is where the Muslims are allowed to live. That doesn't feel like a bastion of freedom to me, Owen said during her show. Kozak countered Owen's statement by explaining that while there are ethnic communities within the city of Jerusalem, there are no specific quarters that legally dictate where Muslim citizens can live. Jerusalem Old City has 4 quarters: Christian, Jews, Muslims, and Armenian. And each neighborhood represents the ethnic group of most of the people who live there, according to the Jewish Viral Library. In November, a clip emerged on social media showing Shapiro, who is also Jewish, answering questions in front of a crowd. He described Owen's commentary on the conflict in Gaza as disgraceful. The questions about Candace Owen, Shapiro said in a video posted to X by user at LumerSL, I think her behavior in this has been disgraceful without a doubt. Shapiro's answer was met with applause from the audience, followed by his acknowledgement that Owen's sophistication on these particular issues have been ridiculous. Shapiro added, everybody can see the moves that she's making and the things that she is saying, and I find them disreputable. Owens addressed the comment during the interview with former Fox host Fox News host Tucker Carlson that went live on X days later. When Carlson asked Owens if she was able to contextualize Shapiro's comment, she responded, "There isn't much of a background. I saw the video when everybody else saw it. When I woke up, nobody warned me about it. It looks like it maybe he didn't know he was being recorded. It looks if was sort of a private event. I got no clarity on the issue that he was particularly speaking on. And what was said, I can't respond to it beyond what he is saying because just ad hominem attacks. So I can't respond to it on a level of intellect because there's nothing that he expressed, at least in the short clip, that he fundamentally disagreed with the term of what I said," she continued. "But I will say that I am not going to respond with the same ad hominem attacks. I don't think it helped further the discussion. If that was me, that I was caught on a video saying that about colleagues that I work with, I would be embarrassed. So I think the video speaks more to Ben's character than it speaks to mine." Now, let's stop right there because here's the issue with, what she basically said. Okay, like I said, anybody who these Jewish people feel like attacked them, they always want to call somebody anti-Semitic over. They're trying to tell you, oh, we basically cannot be criticized by nobody. And if you do criticize us, well, you're anti-Semitic, you see. But you can't tell me what that means, though. So when she sat down with Amy Kozak to discuss the conflict and said, hey, there's Muslim quarters that dictate where Muslim sitters are allowed to live, right? Muslim sitters are allowed to live in. I grew up in my grandparents' house. My grandfather grew up in a segregated South. And so when I'm walking through Jerusalem, you see, they say, these are Muslim quarters. This is where the Muslims are allowed to live. That doesn't feel like a bastion of freedom to me, Owen said during her show. Right? There was nothing that this woman, despite her views on other opinions, there's nothing that she said that was anti-Semitic here. She was just recognizing that there was Muslims who basically have certain areas into which they are living, and they are allowed to live in certain cases here. Nothing anti-Semitic about pointing that out. But see here, Ben Shapiro wanted to get a hard-on about it. Like a lot of these so-called Jewish people do. They want to get a hard-on something that really, really is nothing to be discussing here. And goes on to write that when Carson asked Owens if she was able to contextualize Shapiro's comments, she responded, there isn't much of a background. I saw the video when everybody else saw it. When I woke up, nobody warned me about it. It looks like maybe he didn't know it's been recorded. It looks if it was some sort of private event. I got no clarity on the issue that he was particularly speaking on and in what was said. I can't respond to it beyond what he is saying because it's just ad hominem attacks. In other words, she's trying to then appease and apologize to this man after her firing. She goes on to say, so I can't respond to it on a level of intellect because there's nothing that he has expressed, at least in the short clip, he fundamentally disagrees with in the terms of what I said, she continued. But I say that I am not going to respond with the same ad hominem attacks. I don't think it helped further discussion. And if that was me that was called in the video saying that about colleagues that I worked with, I would be embarrassed. So I think, when asked, well, the article goes on the right, when asked if Shapiro has contacted her to apologize to or explain, Owens told Carson, "No, nothing. I haven't heard a single word. It just was a sort of something that he said." Owens added that she and Shapiro have many disagreements. So don't think that the particularly is something that is interesting. We disagreed on COVID vaccine. We disagreed on Ukraine and Russia. Virtually every stance has been the opposite of mine on every issue. Remarkable. I am totally open to people having a different opinion, she added. I would hope that among colleagues that it would be all right to be civil disagreement. I would never at a private event stand on the table and talk badly about Ben. Now, here's the thing, and this is why it's problematic for all Black people to be working with these people. Okay? That's why their system don't work, because they'll fire you for no reason. They'll hire you and fire you for no reason. That's a very dangerous position for Black people to be in. To be fired and to change. That's the reason why the system of white supremacy does not work for other races of people. That's the dangerous about allowing Jewish people to come over to the United States and set policy. You see? And so they bring in, all of these people are allowed to come over to the United States and bring their problems and issues into this country, and yet they're not from this country. And that's the issue here of the society. I condemn I condemn any violence against people, okay? But the point is that none of these folks who are talking about, you see, we had the Jewish people who set policy for 100 and something years in this country. 150 years. They've been setting policy, and they're a small group here in the United States. And that has become the biggest issue here. The biggest issue here is to allow a small group of people to basically be able to set American foreign policy. The Jewish community is dangerous in that regard. And we have to look at that as a way in order for us to basically survive as Black folks in this country. I don't like to use the phrase people of color because we don't have a coalition with other people. Other folks are over here for their own survival. Everybody wants the American pie, the American dream that Black people built from slavery. There's blood and sweat of our ancestors. This is the issue with, bringing everybody else's conflict in the United States. And this is the reason why we're not voting for the Democrats this time around. You've been listening to the Lawyer Henderson podcast show. Thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. Now, I want to conclude talking about this issue with the Newsweek article. The Newsweek article here, talking about anything here that we're focusing on in the Black community. Okay, like I said, we condemn violence, right? We condemn it. Everybody else's issues on top of the Black communities first. The United States still haven't dealt with that one issue, and that is slavery that they did to the original people here, the original people of color, and that is Black folks. We must stop focusing on other people's plight and start focusing on ours. We have no dogfight in the Palestinian and Hamas wars. We condemn it. So did African nations like South Africa. They condemn this conflict. But what we're here to do here is to make sure that these Jewish people don't keep on using their phrase of anti-Semitism as a way to get away from the policies that they set against Black folks when they work with the white liberals and others to keep Black people in a segmented labor market. You see, that's the issue as well. And that's why the white media is no longer the number one media to listen to, because people are waking up with corporate media that is not balanced in a sense. And that's the reason why the Black media was formed. The issue here, it's not about no war in the Middle East, because that conflict has been going on for years. Okay? That's not the issue here. The issue is, here's a Black female who is trying to basically get in and fit herself into white supremacy, who is married to a white man as well. And she knew that she would be fired in an instance, because these people are going to fire you for any reason. Whether they accuse you of anti-Semitic or whether they accuse you of trying to outdo them, white folks basically will fire you for any reason. And that's why it's dangerous for working with them. That's the reason why Black men have always said, listen, we need our own business. We can't just be voting for Democrats anymore. We have to have our own economic system here. We have to build a relationship with other nations, countries, Africa, or whatever. We can no longer rely on white people to give us jobs, because they're going to hire and fire us as they please. It's nothing wrong of what Candace Owen said here. She just said that there was a quarter of where the Muslims stayed in Jerusalem or in the Gaza, what have you. It was nothing wrong about saying that, ladies and gentlemen. What was the issue? How was that anti-Semitic? These people basically call anti-Semitic to anything nowadays. Okay, and so here you have to look at what's going on. You have to live here, as they always do. But anyway, if you're going to have I lost my train of thought because it's ScrewTube. All right, listen, if you're going to have an issue with people just having a dialogue, right? They're having a dialogue about what? They're having dialogue about war. They're having a dialogue about Muslims or Jews or whatever. If you're going to have a dialogue, have an interesting dialogue, and make sure that you don't get offended just because somebody criticized the Jewish community. Okay? Nobody is above criticism in this society. We're all not perfect. So when we criticize the Jewish community or we criticize the Israeli forces, we're saying that you're doing too much danger. You're saying that you're overdoing it. Yes, these people basically, they basically attacked you, but you're overdoing it. You're going in there killing innocent people there. There are certain parts where Muslim women and children live, and they have been attacked. They're not the one that firebombed you. You see, that's all that's been said there. And there are certain parts of what Candace Owens left out about where specifically these Muslims was living there. Okay. Like I said, this conflict has been going on for years. For years, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, it's been going on for years, man. And so therefore, it's never going to stop. It's not going to stop. And I think what we have to understand, just like we saw in the war in Afghanistan and the war in Iraq, those people have been there for years. There's no way that the United States will come in and basically there's going to be a change in those nations. The Taliban basically came back in power right after the United States packed up their weapons and left. Because the United States doesn't have the force it had during the 1960s, the 1920s. America was a power force at that time, but now it's no longer that. The United States don't even have enough military power to take on China and Russia collectively. It doesn't have the military it needs. In fact, with the BRICS nation and other types of things, the United States is declining as we speak. In fact, the overdoing of eating and diabetes among children, or I should say teenagers, 18 to 25, who they're trying to recruit for war and to recruit for the army, has declined significantly. You can't even get these teenagers today to even go to college for 2 years, okay? You understand? So as people, as I guess the parents or whatever, just some other reason, maybe the teenagers themselves, they're not looking at college and going to the military as an alternative like their parents did. And so I think like the ambassador who basically was in Israel, remember she said that, and I quote her, she said the biggest problem is the fact that because Black people do not want to go to the army and because Black folks do not want to help or even get involved with this conflict or even discuss the Palestinian-Israeli war, that we became dangerous because we're now focusing on ourselves. And they're like, well, how dare you focus on yourself? You niggers are supposed to be focusing on our issues, like you've been doing for the past 150 years after slavery. And that's why they're upset with us now. And so now you have an issue where there is a turning of the United States. In fact, it's slowly but surely is turning. Is turning. We're basically not going to be living the same way in 30 years that we lived in 1980s and 90s. When you see that there has been a decrease in police officers, a decrease in firemen, a decrease of teenagers going to college, a decrease of what? A food supply, and the BRICS nation is closing doors on the United States. The United States is no longer the world's police anymore. It is now the world's security guard, because now you, just like a security officer does, it goes along begging around. Hey, can I have a contract here and contract there? I just read somewhere where Niger had kicked out the United States and the United States had begged to keep, to stay there. Okay. It's not the world police anymore. It's the world security guard now. Okay. There's a difference between a security officer and a police officer. The United States in the 1990s, in the 1970s and 60s used to be the world police, but now the United States is the world security guard. So Western Europe is basically faced with the issue, right? Because it have always relied upon the United States to help it with its conflict in certain countries. It can no longer do that now, okay? African nations basically are seeing now what China and China and Russia is talking about as far as their power. And therefore, the Chinese and Russia is basically is becoming the second world police, okay? So African nations are in a tug of war to who are they going to basically support, the Western nations or the East, or the countries from the East, okay? And as Amos Wilson taught us, ultimately, the East or the Chinese and Russia, whatever, they're going to win against the West. They're going to win because they don't have a society where women get to basically hit men in the head and start fights, and then the man go to jail, okay? A woman in the East knows that she raised her hand to a man. Oh, she's done, okay? So their societies are more built where men are mostly in charge of those societies. When the West, they had it where, women get to be judges and women get to be attorneys and stuff like that. And so now you see them now increasingly being what? Police officers. And next, they're going to have to be what? Soldiers. Because as the West lose more and more men who basically not wanting to be a part of the labor market, of course, they're also losing men in a sense that men just don't want to fight for a society where they don't feel like they have any power anymore. Okay. And the United States have become a huge example of how they basically castrate men. They have become the personification of why you basically have a society that is not going to last. The United States, in its decline, of course, is basically in a huge, difficult issue. Whereas at first, when it, of course, the 150 years that policies was set specifically from the Jewish perspective, is now being disrespected by other nations. We don't see now the black man basically, quote unquote, in charge, but we also see him, though, doing his own thing, which is very important. If you go back and look at my video essay, of course, on the emergence of a new black man, remember I told you in that video essay that we're moving on to bigger and better things now. The white supremacists still believe that they are still in control. And one of the biggest ways that they can believe that is to try to control and run the media. Trying to run the media, of course. Trying to run the YouTube videos. The YouTube things, even keeping alternative opinions, of course, like ours in the black media, limited in the algorithm. And see, this is the reason why white folks are not prepared for what's going on, because they have to keep this ideal in their mind. Hey, we're still in control. We're still in control. Okay. And that is wrong. You might wake up one minute and find that white people are not in control in America and in the world no more, in which they're losing their power. Finally, the article goes on to say here, however, I am totally open to people having a different opinion, she said. She added, this is Candace Owen still talking. I would hope that among colleagues that it would always be civil disagreement. I would never at a private event stand on a table and talk badly about Ben. Okay, so she's trying to, of course, appease her white daddy. Okay. On Thursday, Owen spoke out on X after the Anti-Defamation League, see, there we go, shared a link to the Media Matters article, and accompanied caption read, white supremacist and Holocaust denier Nick Fuentes is praising Candace Owen's vitriolic anti-Semitism. It's hardly survived that people come together to push an anti-Semitic agenda. It adds fuel to the fire of hate. Responding, Owen wrote, I don't know Nick Fuentes, but you already know that. What I do know is that everyone can see what you guys are doing to me. Your pattern is well established and the world is waking up to it. My crime is having stood up for myself against your network of smears, end quote. She then goes on to write, lastly, my crime is that I do not believe that American taxpayers should have to pay for Israel wars or the war of any other country, Owens continued. I would not change my mind. So the question is, what will you do to me next? The world is watching. Sound like somebody wants someone to come to someone's aid here, okay? And so Candace Owens is asking, what would the white supremacists do to her next? It's not she said was wrong, okay? I don't think that the United States should be fighting wars. The United States doesn't have enough money to fight wars as well, you see. But yeah, but we wanted to keep it like that. Well, after the music break, we're going to get into Puff Daddy and talk about T.D. Jakes and the parties and the raids and stuff like that. That's going to be for the next 20 or so minutes. Stay with us. You're listening to the Lawyer Henderson podcast show, I should say. All right, so we're back on this second half, talking about second half. You listen to the Lawyers and Podcast Show. Hit that like button, thumbs up, leave your comments. We basically is going to, of course, read them and continue to listen to the Lawyers and Podcast Show. This is our second half. We're going to be talking now about Puff Daddy or P-Diddy or whatever he's calling himself these days. Jakes breaks silence on Diddy allegations with emotional sermon that happened 3 months ago, remember? And we'll be talking about everything. You're in the Lawyers and Podcast Show. Okay? This article by Mirror.com or UK, whatever. It's the new P. Diddy rage footage shows Homeland Security storming the star's house and handcuffing 2 men. Okay. Dramatic new footage show armed Homeland Security agents raiding rap superstar P. Diddy's home. It's been shared by Mr. Hilton, Mr. Hilton, the mother of the 2 of the musician's sons, were shown being searched with guns pointed at them during the raid. Diddy's Los Angeles home was raided by Homeland Security last week, allegedly in connection to sex trafficking. Diddy has strongly denied all allegations. The video seems to be taken from security cameras around the house and has been sped up. It began by showing military vehicles pulling up and pulling onto the street. Then officers in tactical gear entered the yard, and the video has been edited to circle one of the men in red as he is disabled the camera. Inside the house, drones and men are shown walking the halls before allegedly pinning one of Diddy's son up against the wall with his hands on his head. So this is, of course, as you know, when these race soldiers come to arrest Black people, they have to do that. They got to make it as if it's a whole military show. They have to basically bring all kinds of military gear. This is what they have to do when a Black person's house is getting raided, you see. Misa video also circles the man he is getting handcuffs. Later, who seems to be another son, emerges from the room with his hand on his head. The supposed second son is seen being pulled out of the house and onto the street before being handed off to another officer. Misa posted a lengthy caption with the video alleging that her son was treated horribly. As a history of this. And so that these Homeland Security, FBI agents, every time that they have to go raid a Black person's house, they got to be in military gear. It's just nonsense. It's pathetic. It goes on to write that the overzealous and overtly militarized force used against my son, Justin and Christian King, is deplorable, she wrote. This is the mother speaking here. If these were sons of non-Black celebrity, they would not have been handled with this same aggression. Quote. She continued, the attempt to humiliate and terrorize these innocent young Black men is despicable. Enough is enough. That Justin needs several laser beams from firearm pointed at his chest. Did Christian need a gun pointed at the back of his head while he was handcuffed? You see? Her caption ended. How many times have we seen young, unarmed Black men not make it out of these types of situations alive? My son attorney, Jeffrey Lichman, said an investigation, the excessive use of force, which was unnecessary and certainly not required by the search warrant, We will fight for justice utilizing every imaginable resource. I'm not with that propaganda. Lawyers for the rapper shared a statement with TheMirror.com. Lawyer Aaron search warrant was executed at Mr. Combs' residence. There is no excuse for the excessive show of force and the hostility exhibited by authorities or the way his children and employees were treated. Okay, Diddy's lawyer added, this is unprecedented, leads to a premature rush to judgment of Mr. Combs and nothing more than a witch hunt based on meritless accusations made in civil lawsuits. There has been no finding of criminal or civil liability with any of these allegations. Mr. Combs is innocent and will continue to fight every single day to clear his name. Dyer also said that King and Justin were not arrested. They were seen returning to the mansion the day after they raided it. You see, this is how they like to come to us. They like to basically come in all types of gear. They like to do this type of stuff to Black people. I remember when we stayed in Oklahoma, me and my friends, we went to the mall, and they thought that we stole my friend's mother's car. Man, they came with all kinds of, uniform gear, and they had the guns pointed at us, and they had the helicopters circling us. And somebody just saw us some white person saw us trying to just get into the car and thinking that we were stealing it. And this is my friend's mother's car, and we had got locked out of it. Man, they brought all kinds of police, helicopters and stuff, having us at gunpoint. This is the way that these white supremacists try, do us in a sense. They have to always bring this heavy artillery gear when it comes to Black folks. This is the reason why white supremacy is a problem in society. And breaking away from this white supremacist system is the only way that we could basically free ourselves from these unimaginary scenarios that we keep on looking at. Men, and especially Black men, who have seen guns been drawn and even been shot and killed by these thugs with badges. You see, and subscribe, leave your comments. I want to talk about the other allegations. I'm not saying that Puff Daddy or p-diddy is not I'm not saying that he's innocent, okay? I'm just saying that it didn't take a lot of that militarized gear towards his sons. That was uncalled for, okay? But that's how they do it. Now, let's look at this whole scenario here, okay? Because as Black people, we know how the police do us, right? And Martin and other Black people who do not make it alive when these happy trigger police officers or wannabe police officers in George Zimmerman case, we see how the triggering of their hands, and then they go to these this white supremacist court system and get off, or they get some slap in on the slap on. Now, I know I have a lot of people who are conservative that listen to the Lawyers and Podcast show, and basically, I see your little foolish comments in the chat. Okay, here's the thing. Remember that a lot of times people don't think that this could ever happen to them until it does. And then that's when you start to say, yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of thing. Now, like I said, I'm not saying that p-diddy is not, is not guilty. I'm not saying he's innocent. I'm not saying he's guilty. Because there has been a lot of people who died under p-diddy's watch. And then the sex trafficking allegations that coming from Cass. And one of the person that we forgot about that had had died was his ex-girlfriend, Sean, or P. Diddy Combs' ex-girlfriend, Kim Porter. She was found dead back in 2007. So, so I'm not saying that P. Diddy don't have no blood on his hand. I would never say that, okay? Because I'm still looking into the model Kim Porter's, her certain death. And P. Diddy was dating her at the time. So I'm not saying that he's innocent 100%, but to have his sons to be drawn with guns and all types of things, that's problematic to me. And of course, we talked a lot about this on the Lawyers and Podcast show. Okay, thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe. The other thing I want to talk about finally is the T.D. Jakes break his silence on Diggy's allegation with emotional sermon. Now, we all know we looked at how Bishop Eddie Long came out of the closet when he was sleeping with those boys, his parishioners in the church, to say, Bishop Eddie Long. Now, I want to read the article here and let's discuss before we go off air. Thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, leave your comments here. T.D. Jakes is clearing up his name based on a viral accusation running rampant on social media over the last week. In several TikToks and social media posts, they alleged that the bishop was involved in Diddy's sex parties and that he had sexual relationship with men. The allegations were addressed by Jakes' PR rep, who said that the comments were unequivocally false and baseless. However, this is the first time Jakes has spoken out about the rumors which he delivered on Christmas Day. Now, remember, if you go back, this was 3 months ago, there was another preacher who basically delivered a sermon, and he came out to be a lie. I just mentioned Bishop Eddie Long. Okay. All you have to expect me to address lie. Oh, wait. All of you expect me to address a lie. You can log off, Jake said in a defiant voice. I quote, I didn't come to convince you or nobody because I know who I am, he said. That is not what this is about. You can think about whatever you want to think. I came to do my job. I came to prothesis as I was commanded. I came to hear the master say, well done, Jakes added. He continued, I would not use this scarce day and this scarce pulpit to address a lie when I have a chance to preach a truth. I will stand straight up, head up, back straight, and preach the unadulterated, infallible word of God. Now, he became a trending topic when all of this stuff happened 3 months ago. And we all know about P. Diddy's parties. Okay. And what was that singer? Remember that singer? I used to love his song though, but Craig David. I think it was Craig David. One of them basically admitted that they had given P. Diddy, perform oral sex on him. I was like, whoa. So there's some kind of kinky stuff going on in Hollywood, So we have to look at that. These celebrities will be getting down now. Man, they've been getting down. That's the reason why I had to watch that whole 3-hour interview on Shannon Sharp with what's his name? Cat Williams. I wanted to get the juice there. Okay. As previously mentioned, Jake's PR debunked the rumor this week. Recent claims circulating on pockets of social media about Bishop T.D. Jakes are unequivocally false and baseless, Jordan A. Hora, an executive of the T.D. Jakes group, told the Christian Post. The bishop was trending topic all last week in regards to the accusation that he was a participant in Diddy's sex parties, with sources backing up the rumors. I'm also told that multiple male escorts corroborated the fact that T.D. Jakes had slept with multiple men at Diddy's parties and abroad, the source claimed, per the Christian Post. It has also been said that a young male had acquired a lawyer to represent him as he is set to sue Jakes for an incident that took place where he was just 16 years old. The worst that could happen if anything was true, all I got to do is repent sincerely from my heart. There is enough power in the blood to cover all kinds of sin. I don't care what it is. The blood would fix it, but I ain't got to repent about this. T.D. Jakes declared in a Christmas Eve live stream that was since became private on YouTube. Now, come on now. Anybody know if you basically go to P. Diddy's parties, you know what you're getting into. Okay? Stop playing. You know what you're getting into. P. Diddy parties have all kinds of problems with it. It is scandalous. Men sleeping with men, women sleeping with women. It is all kinds of homosexual things that goes on in these parties and in Hollywood as well. Uncle Luke came out, rapper Uncle Luke came out and said, I always leave Puff Daddy parties early. Why? Because you don't want to stay around. You don't want to basically be around when Puff Daddy have his parties, especially at night, Uncle Luke says. 50 Cent says he doesn't attend Diddy's parties, and he explains why. Snoop Dogg was basically so, well, we'll get to Snoop in a minute, but 50 Cent explained why Diddy parties aren't my MFing kind of party, and it's concerned his personal space. Right? Now on Twitter, I should say X, formerly Twitter, he said, and I quote, "That's why I don't be going to them puffy parties," 50 Cent said. Nigga, I hung you from the front and the back at the same time. Fuck you talking about? Look, if you into that, you into that. I'm fine with that. To each of his own. I'm just saying this ain't my MF kind of party. It's uncomfortable. I think I belong in the girls' bathroom when SHIT like that is going on. Puff Daddy, P. Diddy parties be basically. I was going to say no, but P. Diddy's parties be kind of crazy with all kinds of all kinds of homosexual deviance type of thing. Mike Tyson coming out, Cat Williams, all exposing that P. Diddy's parties be just homophobic in nature. Snoop Dogg, I was just going to say earlier, man, Snoop said, man, I'd be terrified going to P. Diddy's parties. All of them get down and kind of, that basically all of the nastiest thing that P. Diddy has done, the allegations of, murder that he's involved in. All of that stuff. You're going to see the other stuff coming out about Jay-Z and all the others. It's going to happen. Okay? Just wait. You're waiting on that. I'm the first one that said it. But these parties that these celebrities be having, you know, and there was also allegations that at his house, the reason why the feds raided is that p-diddy was keeping videos of some of the things that he was doing, not only at these parties, but he was doing at these gay sex parties that they were engaged in. His sex parties be so out of control, of homosexual in nature, that if you don't leave early and the bottles spin, you're going to get that work in the behind. This is how dangerous his sex parties are. Okay? Not only, not to mention all the alleged murders that he was behind, but they coming out saying that Usher slept with Diddy. I don't know how true that is. Allegedly. Allegedly. Okay, I could be wrong, but allegedly. That's allegations. Okay. Now, when when he have these parties that takes place sometimes in Hollywood or Beverly Hills, his mansion, major celebrities come. Major celebrities come. Major celebrities come. But this one allegation against Usher is very interesting. Because if he slept with Usher, then you're going to be like, wait, I know that this can't be true. You know, Usher, of course, who's been a huge star, one of my favorite artists. I can't imagine him and Diddy doing this to him. I can't imagine, ladies and gentlemen. But Cat Williams is bringing all this stuff out. He did because he basically, along with others, could tell you about some things that happened at Diddy's parties. Jamie Foxx was another person, of course, that basically revealed the shocking homophobic allegations against Sean Combs, p-diddy, at his parties. And his parties have always been that basically if you stay a certain period of time after hours, you're going to get that work in the booty hole, bottom line. Doesn't matter how powerful you are, you're a celebrity here. Okay? It's just like sitting on that casting couch when you're trying to be a celebrity in Hollywood, you're going to get that work. Okay? And these chicks, they know that the same thing, same with them. They know that they're going to be getting that work as well. They'll come out later and say that they were basically, they'll come out, do some casting stuff and say, well, blah, 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 this stuff like that, And so that's the reason why it goes back to what, the death of Kim Porter. That's the reason why it's interesting to basically figure out, though, of her mysterious death. Okay, it was kind of crazy that the white media just basically just closed the case. There was no investigation there. Very, very dangerous. Now, pills popping and all this stuff, cocaine, all this stuff is often used, and drugs and all that stuff is often used at these celebrity parties. Sniffing cocaine, truth or dare, over the place, having to take drugs and stuff, falling out, fainting, sex parties here, orgies going on. This is the type of celebrity atmosphere that these celebrities know at some point they're going to be dealing with. They know that. And so what they're trying to do is come out now and pretend like they had nothing to do with this stuff, which is all a lie. Because when these people in the music industry say, okay, you want that deal? You want that deal? Mm-hmm. You better do this at the parties. And we're going to basically show you how it's done. And all you have to do is show up. And if you don't basically do it, your contract is end, or if you tell somebody, you'll mysteriously die. The music industry, by the way, is a very dangerous and dirty game. If you think Hollywood be like to put black men in dresses, oh man, the music industry is way more satanic than that. And so that there was some videos, okay? There was some interesting videos of Sean or p-diddy and Usher having sex. Now, Usher, like I said earlier, is one of my favorite musicians, man. Man, you know, I rocks with Usher a little bit more at the time that you saw him with p-diddy as well in certain instances. So let's go on back and let's read the Combs or p-diddy and his all men secret parties rumor and leaked video. Twitter fans have a crazy theory. May of 2023. Okay. Sean Puffy Combs has been in the music business for over 3 decades, and during this time there has been rumor that he has hosted all men parties. Twitter users speculated that their Twitter users suggest a weird theory regarding Usher and Puff Daddy or p-diddy. A TikTok video was released that featured interviews of rappers and singers speaking about interviews and questions about the rapper's heterosexuality. The video opens with Jamie Foxx being interviewed and speaking about Sean Puffy Combs' secret parties that supposedly featured young men. Was there an attempt on Jamie Foxx's life for speaking out against Diddy? Rappers like 50 Cent made fun of Puffy regarding the type of parties he'd make where there were all men and supposedly even younger men, as it happened with Usher when he went to host Robin Quivers. Interviewed R&B singer Usher about his beginnings in New York City when he went and lived with Puff Daddy when he was a teenager and addressed the parties and the celebrations they had at the so-called flavor camp. Interesting, flavor camp. Usher talked about flavor camp on the Howard Stern show. Without being too specific, Usher spoke about how he got to know the lifestyle, but he did not know if he would participate and indulge since it was pretty wild. Later in the video, it was suggested that Sean Puffy Combs, or p-diddy, and Usher used to share a bed when Usher was just 10 years old, and they would wrestle for Frosted Flakes. Although the video is edited, the future interview seems legitimate. However, the internet is full of mysteries. Full of mysteries. That is interesting. Okay. So now it goes back to the 7 of the most disturbing claims brought against p-diddy as his $40 million mention is rated by the feds. Okay. What has he been doing? In 1993, he set up his own record label, Bad Boy Entertainment, with the talent from Uptown such as the then newcomer, now rapper royalty, the Notorious B.I.G., rest in peace, helping the label to take off. 2 years, 3 Grammys, and 2 name change later, Diddy was 37. Diddy collaborated with Cassie shortly afterwards, and in 2006, the pair officially dated between 2012 and 2018. But the lawsuit filed in November of 2023, Cassie, full name Cassandra Elizabeth Ventura, detailed horrifying claims about how Combs allegedly treated her during their relationship. And outside of it, citing multiple years of sexual and physical abuse, Cassie, who is now 37, had a successful solo career of her own in the 2000s, with her debut studio album reaching top 4 on the Billboard's 200. She claims, though, that her career was controlled by Combs, who paid for her car, housing, and clothing, and exercised his control over her abusively. In her claim, she accused Combs of regularly abusing behavior, including coercing her into taking drugs, forcing her to have sex with male prostitutes, and hitting her on numerous occasions. She also claims that one of the occasions in 2019, he forced his way into her home and raped her as she repeatedly said no and tried to push him away. Combs and Ventura dated for 6 years publicly, but the allegations of abuse spanned nearly the entire time they knew each other. While Combs and Ventura never had children, Combs had fathered multiple children with other women, including actress Kim Porter, which we just talked about, who died in 2018. Combs' previous romantic interests include other high-profile names such as Jennifer Lopez, Cameron Diaz, and rapper Young Miami. After splitting from Combs, Ventura tied the knot with fitness trainer Alex Fine, with whom she has 2 children. In response to Ventura's suit, Combs' lawyer Benjamin Brackman has said Mr. Combs vehemently denies these offensive and outrageous allegations. These attorneys always say that. For the past 6 months, Mr. Combs has been subjected to Mrs. Ventura's persistent demand of $30 million under the threat of writing the damaging book about their relationship, which she was unequivocally rejected as a blatant blackmail. Despite withdrawing her initial threat, Mrs. Ventura has now resorted to filing a lawsuit riddled with baseless and outrageous lies, aiming to tarnish Mr. Combs' reputation and seeking a payday, the attorney said. Bringing Puffy Combs down. Juicy gossip about p-diddy and TD Jakes and others. We have to basically...
Alrighty, last question is, you're on a raft.
Yes.
In the middle of the ocean.
Right.
You look in the water.
That would give me so much anxiety then.
Oh, this is about to give you more
Okay.
anxiety. You look in the ocean, you see 2 people floating.
Oh, shit.
You can only pull up one because that's how much room you have on your raft. You look in the ocean, you see Ben Affleck, and you see Diddy. That's it! J to the L, give me 5. Hello! You gotta love her. Give me 5, J to the L.
I'm just
Big Boy TV. She says that.
You know I love you. You know that.
Okay. Now, that was Jennifer Lopez. She was being asked a hypothetical question. Who are you going to save, p-diddy or Affleck? She said, I'm going to let both of their ass drown. I think that's what she said. But no, let's go now to what our final conclusion is here. P-diddy ex-Chef sues star over claims she was forced to cater sex parties. Forced to cater sex parties. The former personal chef of p-diddy has launched a lawsuit against the hip-hop mogul, claiming she was forced to provide catering at his sex parties.
What did you make of?
The former personal chef of p-diddy, aka Sean Combs, is suing the music mogul over claims she was forced to work during his sex parties. In a court document obtained by TMZ, Sydney Ruda claimed she was subjected to sexual harassment and denied overpay, along with being asked to prepare and serve entries and advertisers to him and his guests, while Mr. Combs and his guests were engaged in or immediately following sexual activity. Ms. Ruda also claimed in court documents that on at least one occasion, she was summoned by her boss to serve him a post-coital meal while he made suggested comments. Mr. Combs was naked and he made comments about his body, she alleged, adding that he had rather she was attracted to or liked his naked body, end quote. The former personal chef is suing for sexual harassment, hostile work environment, and a host of other workplace-related claims. The lawsuit comes after Ms. Ruda was fired for allegedly stealing one of her employees' watches in May of 2016, although she claimed was set up by her colleague after complaining about the work conditions. Meanwhile, Combs' rep has hit back at the former staffer's accusations, telling TMZ that it is a frivolous lawsuit by a disgruntled ex-employee who was fired for a cause. So p-diddy is getting that work, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody is coming out. All the people who he was around, who mysteriously died. And that's the kind of problem and issue that you have to take in the entertainment business, but specifically in the music industry business, because the music industry is very, very dangerous, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very dangerous. And I'm telling you, it only gets dangerous. Man, the stuff with R. Kelly, well, these accusers get coming out. We knew that most of them was lying, even though I'm not saying that R. Kelly is is not innocent or guilty. But it's all of this stuff about these celebrities. But these white boys do it most over, okay? It's just that their dirty laundry do not come out as much because the white corporate media don't want that stuff to come out. Okay, Weinsteins and Jeffrey Epsteins and all these other Steins. Listen, Hollywood white men do more dangerous stuff than the allegations against p-diddy. Sexual harassment, assaulting of employees, all of that happens in Hollywood, and white men have started it all. Okay, and that's the bottom line. Okay. I want to thank you for listening to the Lawyers and Podcast Show. Thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, that our special might be coming tomorrow. We'll be talking about R. Kelly's updates and his appeal process with his attorney, Jennifer Bonji. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the Lawyers and Podcast Show. Don't forget to read, why, and listen and learn. And then that's when you leave your comments. Thank you for listening. I'm Williams, your host.